Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lollygaggers Dynasty Recap. I am your host Zang. This week, unfortunately, Ace isn't able to join us. He's not feeling well right now, so sending him some well wishes, giving him a little time to rest up, and I'll be doing a little bit of a solo pod here this week to start us off. Well, a little bit of an unexpected week here. I've sort of unofficially named it Blowout Week. Not a lot of close matchups, which is something we've been talking about a lot. Not really any, except for maybe one that were decided within the last couple days or so. It's interesting to see some of the scores coming out a little bit. See where some of the higher ranked teams are really showing themselves to be those higher ranked teams. Cough, cough, Hideki, you are certainly showing us who you are. And some teams in the middle are maybe on a little bit of fraud watch, perhaps. Hideki's opponent, yours truly. So we will get started this week with our matchup minute. But before we do, I do have a new potent pitcher sound as promised. It's not perfect. The idea that Ace had given me was a pretty great one. Back in, I believe it was 2022, there was a Tigers and Royals game that didn't have any broadcasters for an inning. So he was saying, go in there and see if you can find it. And it was awesome. I pull up the game. I see Tarek Skubal's pitching. I think, oh my God, this is perfect. Turns out no strikeouts in the inning. So unfortunately, we weren't able to use that. But I did pull. Sorry about the mic there. I did pull a pretty good strikeout sound and throw a little note in the Discord if you can identify just from the one word who the broadcaster is. So here's our new potent pitcher sound.
Got him.
Sounds like that. That is how you'll know at the end of a week when I sort of share the final scores that was one of our 5 best pitchers for the week. So let's get started with the matchup minute. First of all, we have Flaming Prius versus Bose. Now, coming into the week, Flaming Prius was projected 55% over Bose to be the winner. Starting off on the first day, Prius did come out strong. It was 81-30. He held that through the next day, 59-15. Junior Caminero had a great 13-point performance on that day. 14 of those 15 points for Bose on that day came from Josh Naylor. Wednesday was the day where Prius really jumped ahead with a 111-57 point performance. Riley Green had 13 points there. Eric Fetty had 19, and then Pepiot and Skubal both had 18 points there. And, of course, Shohei racking up 11 for Bose on the other side. I wish I had more to say here, but Prius took the lead on Monday and held it all the way through Friday. Thursday was 47-30. Bose did stage a bit of a comeback on Friday, 90-134 for Prius and Bose, respectively. Joe Ryan had 36 on that Friday. Logan Webb had 34. Solid performances for Bose, but even that big surge was not enough, and Prius did close it out strong, 102-72 on that last day, with Neto racking up 10 points for him, and Paul Skeens racking up 39. A wire-to-wire performance from Flaming Prius. Took the lead on Monday and did not relinquish it for the entire week. The final score of this matchup was 542-382. It's a 160-point differential there that separated the two of them. Flaming Prius's best batter for the week was Zach Neto, shortstop for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Los Angeles. And he was one of our best bats for the week. Zach Neto tallied up 44.3 points. Pete Crow Armstrong with 42.6 was also one of our best bats. 2 best bats on the week in those top 5 for Flaming Prius. And then, to no one's surprise, Paul Skeens
got him.
Is one of our potent pitchers. 62.8 points for the Pirates ace on the week. Those 3 strong performances obviously propelled Prius to this landslide victory. Over on the other side, Bose had Shohei with 43.6, who was one of our best bats. And then David Peterson with 45.1 was Bo's best pitcher for the week. Unfortunately, that best bat performance was not quite enough to help him close the gap between Prius. Our second matchup is in 10 versus JMC. Now, we came in with 87% JMC over in 10. As we mentioned last week, that was in all likelihood a little bit of an error when it comes to the prediction. You know, if you have an illegal lineup, it'll clear everything after that. So probably had something to do with it. But JMC was projected as the winner over in 10. To start the week off, JMC did take a strong lead, 108 points to Inten's 53. Volpe had 12 points on that opening day for JMC. DeLander with 23 and Clark Schmidt with 24. Waka had 21. That was his first start with Inten. We'll talk a little bit about how he made his way over there soon. JMC held the lead through Tuesday with strong performances from Josh Jung, who put up 20 points, Jack Leiter, who put up 29, and Schwellenbach, who put up 27. On Wednesday, it was 67-23. On Thursday, it was 11-54. Inten started a little bit of a comeback. Zach Littell with 20 points and AJ Smith-Shaver with 32. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough to close the distance. JMC still held the lead, and he did hold the lead through Friday and through the weekend, closing it out with a 125 performance on Sunday. Jackson Jobe with 24 points and Schwellenbach with 19. On Saturday and Sunday for in 10, Devers had 14 and 15 on those days respectively. Scored 64 points on both days, but just wasn't enough to close the gap on JMC's really, really strong week. The final score was JMC beating in 10, 515 to 340. It's a 175-point differential. In 10's best batters for the week, we had Nico Horner with 41.1. His best pitcher for the week was a newcomer, Michael Waka, with 37.6. Over on JMC's side, Josh Jung was his best batter, 39.7. Nice to see him starting to kind of pick it back up after he had a bit of an injury-riddled season last year. And Spencer Schwellenbach with 46.8.
Got him.
Was one of our potent pitchers for the week, a strong showing that sort of helped propel JMC to that victory. Not to dig in too much, just looking at those end-of-week scores, 37.6 for your best pitcher. On JMC's side there, or on Inten's side, pardon me, is a little bit of an indicator as to why, maybe the matchup didn't go his way. That's a pretty low number for your best pitcher, although that Waka trade has paid off nicely for Inten. He showed out really well in that first week. Our third matchup is Okie Sooner versus Ace. Now, this one was projected airtight. Ace, 51% over Okie Sooner, but it sure didn't look airtight on the first day when Okie Sooner jumped out to a 95-point lead, 120-25. That was on the back of 13 points from Dansby and 33 from Merrill Kelly. He continued the trend of 100-point performances the next day with 104 to Ace's 26. Javi Baez had 20 points on that day. Cease had 29 for him. Okie Sooner held the lead again, 71 points to 80, 38-30 on the next day, Thursday, 91-88 on Friday. Ace made a big surge on Saturday, scoring 165 points to Okie Sooner's 57. That was on the back of Andy Pages' 11 points, Miles Michaelis' 31, Nick Pivetta with 29, Drew Rasmussen with 32, and Zach Wheeler with 33. However, that was not enough to break down the lead that Okie Sooner had built, and he punched back with a similarly high-scoring performance on Sunday to close it out, scoring 142 points to Ace's 39. That was on the back of Max Fried's 26 points, Merrill Kelly showing up again with 42, and now a frequent flyer here in these high score notes. Matthew Libertor with another 23. Again, that's a alum of our wasted waivers segment, which always makes me feel a little good knowing, hey, that is helping some people out. He's been a solid pitcher for Okie Sooner here. Okie Sooner, just like JMC and Flaming Prius before him, did go wire to wire here, took the lead on Monday, didn't surrender it until ever, because he ended up winning the matchup. It was 625 to 456 for Ace. Not a bad score for Ace there. It's a game of matchups, folks. We know that. It's tough. It is a cruel mistress, as Ace himself would say. 465 would certainly have won him, 456, pardon me, would certainly have won him a number of other matchups. He just so happened to be going up against, I believe, our first 600-point performance. The 169 points separating them was, I believe, our second largest margin. Yes, it was our second largest margin. Third largest, pardon me. Third largest for this week. And yeah, strong showing by Oki Sooner, and Ace, I think, showing out a little bit what we saw last week, where there are those huge days. We saw the 165 there on Saturday, and there are those lower days too, a 25 and a 26, a 30, a 39. So, catch him on the right week, and Ace is beatable. But if you don't catch him on the right week, golly, he will really take you down. But excellent play there by Sooner. His best batter for the week was the ever mercurial Eugenio Suarez, 38.4. We've talked, of course, about how boom or bust he is, and this was clearly one of his boom weeks. Solid performance there for the best batter. And then Max Fried as the best pitcher with 44.9 points. Has really been a frequent name we've brought up here on the podcast. We were talking about him a lot, as he is really showing out to be one of the better sort of under-the-radar draft picks by Oki Sooner there. Ace Garcia's best batter was James Wood with 32.7, and Zach Wheeler, once again, was his best pitcher, this time with 33.2. Kind of bringing it back to that point we had with Intent, both best batter and best pitcher in the 30s is probably not going to get it done for you. That can show a little bit of an insight into how Sooner got such a big lead against Ace, although I have to say, 456 when your best pitcher and best batter were that low shows a lot about Ace's depth. Very interesting to follow how he looks there, and we'll see. This loss didn't hurt him too much, but was very helpful for Sooner in the standings. Matchup number 4 is Mike versus Serial Chillers. Mike was actually projected to lose this matchup. It was projected 64 to Serial Chillers over Mike, 64% Serial Chillers over Mike. We opened the week up with Serial Chillers taking that strong lead, 96 points to 67 for Mike. Christopher Sanchez had 23 points on that opening day, and Jackson Merrill had 10, helping him get that lead. On the second day, he held his lead. Chillers did, 79 to 51. Andrew Abbott's 29 points helped there. He held the lead through Wednesday as well, 58 points to 73 by Mike, who staged a little bit of a comeback there on Wednesday. Adolis and J-Ram both scoring 12 points for Chillers, and Soderstrom also scoring 12 points over on the other side for Mike. On Thursday, though, Mike did end up taking the lead back, and he'd hold it through the end of the week. Chris Paddock's 33 points on that day were tremendously helpful for him, and Brandon Lau's 19 certainly didn't hurt either. Seiya had 10 on Friday for Mike and his 58-point performance, while Flaherty provided 21 for Serial Chillers, 51 points. 110 on Saturday was Mike's biggest day of the week. Matthew Boyd with 27, Pablo Lopez with 33, and Molly with 25. Really, really impressive showing from his pitchers there. And the 31 to 75 for Mike and Serial Chillers, respectively, was not enough to split the final score. It did look close coming in there. CJ Abrams had 21 for Serial Chillers. Andrew Abbott had 22 on that last day. Looked like he might have a chance, but during Sunday Night Baseball, Cody Bellinger put up 21 points, which firmly sealed the victory for Mike. 464 to Serial Chillers, 433. That 31-point differential was the smallest of any this week. Now, it has been requested that I attempt to reverse my announcer's jinx. You might remember during week 3, I pronounced Serial Chillers a juggernaut. And since then, his performances have been less than juggernautly. So, Dynasty gods and gurus, I would like to mention, as a broadcaster, I'm going to mention how Serial Chillers has lost 5 straight matchups. This is clearly not a good team, and won't be any good at all, because this is not a good team. Let's hope that reverse jinx does the trick for all Serial Chillers there. Mike, of course, did end up winning here, on top in the standings over Serial Chillers there, and solid matchup. This was our one kind of close one for the week. It was fun to keep an eye on coming into Sunday. Those big performances. I know when I saw CJ Abrams put up 21 and Abbott with 22, I can imagine Mike was sweating a little bit, but Bellinger, who, as we've talked about, was passed around between, I think, 3 or 4 teams already, puts up a really big performance for Mike in this very tight matchup. Top performers for the week for Mike were the aforementioned Cody Bellinger with 44.8. And he was one of our best batters. Tyler Malley on the other side for Mike, 55.5.
Got him.
Was one of our potent pitchers. Jose Ramirez with 43 points for Serial Chillers was one of our best bats. And I think you can probably predict where this was going. Andrew Abbott with 51.4 points.
Got him.
Was one of our potent pitchers. So, top batter and top pitcher on both sides here land on the best batters and potent pitchers matchup. You understand why this was such a close one. 464 to 433. It was obviously very close and big performances there. Definitely a disappointment for Chillers. Losing a matchup when you get a guy on either side of the bats and pitchers as some of the best ones there. But hopefully my reverse jinx will be helpful in turning some of those fortunes around soon. Matchup number 5 was my matchup versus Hideki. Of course, Hideki was projected over me as the league leader, 57% chance to take me down. And boy, that may have been underselling it by 30, 40%. Absolutely abysmal performance by me. And it certainly started that way on Monday. Hideki scored 78 points and I scored 4. No, that is not 40. No, that is not 14. That is 4. Tanner Houck's minus 30 points certainly didn't do me any favors on that Monday opening up. On the other side, Trent Grisham's 14 points and Colin Reyes 25 helped Hideki build that strong opening lead. Didn't get any lighter on Tuesday when his 122 points easily bested my 61. Kodai Senga scoring 20 points for him, Chris Bubich 28, and Framber 34. On the other side, Willie Adames scored 14 for me and Torkelson 11 as I put up those 61 points. I did win the next day 63 to 53 for Hideki, but it was certainly not enough to give me anywhere close to a lead. What I believe to be the lowest scoring day in this league's history. Short history, of course, 8 weeks now. But Hideki scored 9 points on Thursday, and I scored 6. That's a total of 15 points scored on that day. Nothing too impressive. But on Friday, he revved it right back up into gear, 96 to 72. And you can probably predict where this is going. Held the lead through the end of the week. Scored 41 on Saturday and 93 on Sunday. For me, I had 47 on Saturday and then just 22 to wrap it up on Sunday. A wire-to-wire, absolutely dominant performance by Hideki, who did end up beating me this week, 498 to 274. Yikes. That is a 222 point differential. Unsurprisingly, the largest of this week. And I'm going to wave the flag. I am officially putting myself on fraud watch. I was looking good there for a minute. I was higher up in the standings, doing pretty well, but the last few weeks have not been kind to me. The last 2 in particular, as I've lost to. Little insight, as obviously I know my own patterns. I lost, I believe, the first one, and then 1-2, lost 2, 1-2, and now lost 2. I don't know if that math is right. I've been alternating 2 and 2. So, hey, maybe I'll win next week. We'll see. But just really a piss poor performance from me. 274 is really, really pathetic. And you can see that, again, as we've been mentioning, in my best batters and hitters. Torkelson with 30 and Garrett Crochet is my best batter with just 24.4 on that one start that he had. That is not going to get it done, folks. On top of that, I had 5 pitchers that ended the week in negative point values. Not 5 pitchers that had negatives for the week, but 5 pitchers that ended the week in the negatives. That is certainly not going to help either. Hopefully I can see a little bit of a rebound next week. And on the other side, we see nothing but dominance from Hideki. He has really shown out as probably the premier team in this league. He is currently alone at the top of the leaderboards. We've seen him winning matchup after matchup in pretty dominant fashion. seems like we're certainly going to be seeing him in the postseason. And with a pitching staff like his, that is something to be afraid of if you are also up there in the postseason. Ketel Marte was his best batter with 35 points, and Framber Valdez with 64.5.
Got him.
Was one of our potent pitchers for the week. Unsurprising that he had at least one of those with that big performance. And our final matchup for the week, we've got Big Peach versus Al Martinet. Now, Big Peach was projected 58% to win over Al Martinet for the week. And on the opening day, he did take the lead, 94-43. Corbin Carroll had 18 points on that day. Michael King had 20. Grant Holmes with 25. But a 103-point performance on the next day helped Al Martinet steal the lead back from him, thanks to Pena's 10, Tatis's 12, and 21 points from Jacob Wilson, which I was actually in attendance for. He is just slapping the ball all over the park. Holy. Guy does not like to see a lot of pitches, but gets about on the ball and hits it where they ain't. So no complaints there, certainly from Al Martinet. He put up another 100-point performance on Wednesday with 105, thanks to Will Warren's 20 and Yamamoto's 24. On the other side, Big Peach also put up 100-plus points, 101 to be specific. 18 from Mason Wynn, 24 from Luis Castillo, and Logan Henderson, who put up 23 points for him. That closed the gap quite a bit, and he was able to take the lead on Thursday again, thanks to Matt McLean's 13 and DeGrom's 40 points. Boy, how about that pick for DeGrom? I'm going to knock on wood, because we've seen it happen before, but he looks like his old self. Pretty fantastic to see. Peach did end up holding the lead through the end of the week, scoring 74, 61, and 65 in the following days. On the other side, Al Martinet scored just 27, 65, and then closed it out with 52, but that wasn't quite enough. Brian Bayo's minus 10 on that final day certainly didn't do him any favors, and Big Peach did end up winning the matchup 516 to 416, exactly a 100-point differential separating them. Isaac Paredes was Big Peach's best batter for the week, 38.8 points for him. And on the other side, DeGrom with just that one start, but 40.6 points. Very, very solid. Got to keep an eye on him because he is an X factor if he is what we have all seen him be in the past. Over to his opponent, Al Martinet. His best batter was the aforementioned Jacob Wilson, slapping it all around the yard, not taking walks. Who needs a walk when you can hit a single? He looks really good. I also have to say, having sat in those unbelievable seats that I was gifted, boy, does he have a weird batting stance. It does not look comfortable at all. But again, if it works, it works. Love to see it. Certainly a front runner up there for American League Rookie of the Year with Boston's Christian Campbell. That's going to be an interesting race to see as they continue throughout the year. And then over on the pitching side for Al Martinet, Jake Irvin was his best pitcher, 41.8 points. Now, we are going to slide on down to our standings segment. I'm going to take just a moment to pull up Fantrax because I forgot to record what people's records were, and I'd like to indicate that. Starting us off at the top of the leaderboard, we, of course, have, as I mentioned before, Hideki. For the first time, though, he is alone up there. No tiebreakers. No head-to-head matchups, no point differentials, 6-2 at the top of the leaderboard all by himself. Our next is a group of three. All three of these folks are 5-3. Ace in second place, Mike in third place, and Flaming Prius in fourth. Ace showing up a little bit about what a strong team he's been. Even after losing, he is still in second place. And Mike and Prius parlaying those excellent wins here into some new matchups. Into some new matchups. Into higher spots in the ranking. Thank you. I'm trying to talk on my own. I'm not so used to this, so thank you for your grace. Our next group is our 500 bunch. JMC, who is 4-4 in fifth place. Bose in sixth. Big Peach in seventh. And me, Zang, down in eighth now. Our next one is the folks who are 3-5. That would be Al Martinet in ninth. Okie Sooner in 10th, and Serial Chillers in 11th. Then unfortunately, down there at the bottom of the leaderboard all by himself, we do have in 10 at 2-6. Currently the only team who is under 3,000 points on the season. Bit of a tough start for in 10 so far. Interested to see maybe if he tries to acquire some prospects, some picks. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. And unfortunately, again, something else I forgot, was to take a moment to notice how people rose and fell this week. I can pull up the last week's thing and kind of do it on the fly. I do think that's helpful to see, who's rising, who's falling, how much are they rising, how much are they falling, all of that. So we'll start off with Hideki, who did stay at the top of the leaderboard in first place, as did Ace, staying in second. Mike, who last week was in fifth, rose up 2 spots to get to third place. Flaming Prius, who last week was in sixth, rose up 2 spots to get to fourth place. JMC, who was in seventh, rose up 2 spots to get to fifth place. Bose, who last week was in third, actually fell 3 spots down to sixth place. Big Peach, who last week was all the way down at 10th. That was his second week in 10th place. Peach slid way up 3 spots to 7th place. I fell from 4th down to 8th. That's 4 spots down. A little bit of a hint to that fraud watch that I mentioned earlier. Al Martinet was 8th place last week and fell 1 spot to 9th this week. Okie Sooner rose up 1 spot from 11th to 10th this week. Serial Chillers fell 2 spots from 9th to 11th, and in 10 did stay down there at 12th place from last week. So it's a little look at how people are moving throughout the weeks. This was a big week for bench blunders. I probably didn't even record all of them. I might have missed a few. Some huge numbers were put up. Typically, I look at anything above 10 for batters and anything above 20 for pitchers. We saw some pretty serious ones starting off on Monday when Jackson Jobe put up 22.3 points for JMC sitting on his bench. Of course, JMC did end up winning that matchup, so didn't hurt him too much, but always something to keep an eye on and can be a clue as to maybe why some of those people get starts. For Peach, Drake Baldwin scored 15 points on Tuesday. Another solid performance from the Atlanta catcher, who's really been kind of showing out maybe as the number one guy out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, but it does seem like he's getting a lot of the starts. Ryan Weathers put up 23 points on Wednesday on Prius's bench. Prius, of course, again, a winner. Not too much to bother, but we do always want to score as many points as possible. So that 23 from Weathers is a bit of a tough pill to swallow. For Okie Sooners, 17 points from Gunnar Henderson on the bench, also on Wednesday. Okie, another winner. It does seem like these are mostly winners, so I don't know if we can really call them blunders. One who unfortunately was not a winner was Noah Cameron, who scored 24 points on Saturday for Serial Chillers. That's a tough pill to swallow, as there was just 31 points separating him and Mike. Of course, 24 doesn't make that up, but one of those, maybe a couple other little more correct starts, and here we are at points being flipped. But you can't win them all, and we all know that. And then, of course, rounding out our list, Ezekiel Tovar. Ezekiel Tovar. For some reason, I can't say his name. Last try. Ezekiel Tovar. 16 points on Saturday for Flaming Prius. Nailed it. Thank you for your grace, as I said. Let's tip on down to wasted waivers. We'll start off with our bats. Will Benson, Cincinnati outfielder, has eligibility in all 3 spots. Scored 55.1 points versus the White Sox and versus the Guardians. Those were both home in the Great American Ballpark. That is one of those, ballparks we definitely expect some more offense in. And, of course, Chicago's team is nothing stellar. So that might be a little iffy, but Cleveland's a solid team, and Will Benson could be a nice option off the bench, especially with all 3 outfield eligible spots. That's very handy for flexibility. Not terribly flexible on the other side, but a great hitter. If nobody got me, I know Wilma got me. Wilmer Flores, San Francisco first baseman, who put up 47.1 points versus Arizona and then versus the Athletics. Really solid performance from Wilmer. I believe he leads MLB in RBIs right now, which is crazy. He's been on and off some rosters this year. He hits really well, but maybe not as well as some other first basemen, which explains a little bit, I think, about how he's sort of been up and down some. But if you need a first base hole filled, Wilmer is definitely a person to look at, since he's put up a few very, very, very solid weeks and, put up that 47.1 here. Over to our arms, we've got Cleveland starting pitcher Logan Allen, who put up 33.2 in just one start versus Milwaukee. Really solid showing there. And then old friend of the Braves, Mike Soroka, who had a pair of Achilles ruptures, I believe. Achilles are a bit of a touchy topic for me right now. Jason. No. I do believe Mike Soroka did rupture both his Achilles, though. Been a long way back for him. He is certainly not the pitcher he once was, but hey, 10.8 versus the Athletics at the Sac, which we know is a bandbox, and then 19.8 at Baltimore to end the week out. Solid performances from him there. And if you need a little bit of a fill-in, although he hasn't been on our radar really since 2019-20, he could be somebody you can look into. Next, we're going to slide down to our transaction tracker. We did have 3 trades this week, starting off with one I mentioned before, which had in 10 trading David Festa, who is a minor league starting pitcher, Noah Cameron, also a major league starting pitcher, for the Kansas City Royals, and then catcher Jefferson Caro, who is MLB's number 41 prospect and Milwaukee's number 2. He sent those 3 players over to Serial Chillers for Michael Wacha. A little bit of a quality over quantity play for Serial Chillers, and of course the reverse going back for intent. Wacha is a solid innings eater, always puts up good numbers, and Chillers has identified that he is definitely looking more towards the future. And although I don't know that David Festa and Noah Cameron will be terribly impactful pieces, Jefferson Caro, who is a young guy, I think he's just an A-ball now, he's already number 41 on MLB and Milwaukee's number 2 prospect. He could be somebody to keep an eye on, and especially in a position of need like catcher, could certainly be pretty valuable for in 10. Our next trade came on Tuesday that involved me. I traded Casey Mize and second baseman Christian Moore, who is ranked number 60 on the MLB list, and the Angels' number 1 prospect, along with a 2026 second-round pick over to Hideki for Jameson Taillon and shortstop Marcelo Meyer, who is MLB's number 8 prospect and Boston's number 2. Going to take a little moment to shake my fists in celebration that, number 8 on MLB and not even our top prospect. Future certainly bright in Boston. Get him up there soon. Hideki also sent me over a 2026 third-round pick. So these were our first picks traded. Pretty cool to see. Excited to see how those kind of shape the future as we look at those, especially with, I mentioned this week some of those, pretty key players that will be coming up in the first-year player draft. Just in terms of the picks, basically we swapped a second-rounder from me for a third-rounder for Hideki in this upcoming draft. So we'll still both pick 3 times. I'll just pick twice in the third round, and he'll pick twice in the second round. Over to the pitchers, Casey Mize has been a really, really strong arm. Is unfortunately on the IL right now. And Christian Moore, who is at AA with the Trash Pandas for Anaheim, has been hitting pretty well to start the year off. Coming over to my side, Jameson Taillon has been solid, if not outstanding, in the starting pitcher department, but you can all guess why I got this trade started. It was Marcelo Meyer. I had Campbell. I had Anthony. I wanted to, complete the infinity gauntlet of Boston Big Three. And frankly, I'm a little bit in need in shortstop. Willy Adames has not been quite what I had hoped he would be this year. Not that he won't turn into that, but Meyer, expecting a call-up probably soon, could certainly help out in that department. Just on that note, actually, after this trade, Christian Campbell has been working out at first base for the Red Sox, and Marcelo Meyer has been starting at second base for the past 3 games down in Worcester for the Woo Sox. So could be seeing him up there. Not at shortstop, although he'll hold that eligibility. Hopefully we'll get to see him soon. A tricky trade, some interesting pieces, a couple futures, obviously, a couple picks. I think Hideki definitely got the better pitcher in Casey Mize, who really seems to be kind of coming into his own this year. And that Detroit pitching staff is lethal from top to bottom. And Christian Moore, again, at second base, a position that is not typically the strongest hitting. With a guy like him, could be very valuable. It also cleared out a bit of a shortstop logjam for him, as he has Bobby Witt and then just called up Jordan Lawler, I believe. So helped clear out a little bit of space and brought Marcelo home over to me. And I'm looking forward to getting to see him soon up on the team. Hopefully he can contribute. Our last trade of the week was between Serial Chillers and Big Peach. Serial Chillers traded Xander Bogaerts over to Big Peach for Adolis Garcia. Peach did end up dropping Bogarts, I believe, today in order to pick up Chase Mydroth. So Bogarts already back on the waiver wire. This is a bit of a struggling veteran for struggling veteran situation. Adelise is definitely a little bit younger, although Xander is certainly signed for longer in that mega contract that San Diego gave him. Tough to really call a winner out on this one. Seemed more about, filling positional need more than anything. Although, as we know, Serial Chillers was talking about getting younger, so trading away Xander Bogaerts, who is on the wrong side of 30, for Adelise, who I believe is under 30. Let's check. Adelise Garcia. Adelise Garcia is 32. I take it back. He and Bogaerts are about the same age, so not so much getting younger, but definitely helping out with filling out an outfield spot that maybe needs some help, and infield a little bit for Peach, although Chase Mydroth will be doing that instead of Bogaerts. Finally, we're going to touch on next week's notes. We don't have percentage projections this time, but I will be sharing each team's record, and you can extrapolate from that what you will. Starting off with our first matchup, it is Zang at 4-4 versus Flaming Prius at 5-3. Ace leads off our second matchup at 5-3 versus Bose, who is 4-4. A little bit of an inverse there of our first matchup. Al Martinet at 5-3 takes on league leader Hideki, who is currently 6-2. In 10 at 2-6 is going up against Mike, who is 5-3. Serial Chillers at 3-5 is going up against Oki Sooner, also 3-5. It'll be nice to see who takes a jump into the next tier of records there between those two. And our final matchup is JMC at 500, 4-4 record, versus Big Peach, also at 500 with a 4-4 record. Can't tie in here, folks. So one of those folks is coming above 500 and jumping into a different tier of record. The other will be dropping below 500. That'll be one I'm definitely keeping an eye on because of those ramifications. Gotta say, I'm also pretty interested to see how Ace versus Bose shows out. Two strong teams that have had really, really solid performances in past weeks. Ace, unfortunately, and Bose, actually, had a little bit of down weeks this past one, as they both did fall to their competition in Prius for Bose and Oki Sooner for Ace. They'll both be looking to bounce back next week. Well, I appreciate you all. Thank you for listening. This was, of course, a little bit different just doing it solo. Sending well wishes to Ace, hoping he starts feeling better soon. And looking forward to another week of fantasy coming up. Hopefully this one just a little bit tighter in the scores. From me and Ace, we'll see you next week.
Do you know what that makes you, Larry?
Lollygagger.
Lollygagger.